I asked Jeff this, but knowing what happened with USF last year against Georgia Tech and then kind of seeing what Wisconsin did against USF offense, how does that kind of change your attack plan on Saturday?
Sure. So they Wisconsin, first of all, they stopped the run, which is something we need to improve on. Obvious statement there. And they were able to disrupt the quarterback. So that's what they did really, really well. They were able to pass rush with just their down four linemen, which Wisconsin is very talented up front. And they got ahead early, to your point. So they attacked early. I'm kind of getting ahead a little bit here, but I do believe South Florida is a momentum team. They have explosive players. They have really good skill talent, which they've always had, but got behind early, and it really affected them as they went along. So there's definitely things we can take from the Wisconsin film and the way that they attacked them, and they executed really well and played hard on defense. So there's a lot of things that we're able to see, again, because we have a one-game sample of South Florida with Kerwin Bell, with the new offensive coordinator. Obviously, he was won the national championship at Valdosta State last season. So we've got all the film and everything that he's done, but you never know until they have that personnel, how that's going to fit his personality. So a lot to take from that film.
What did you see from the play up front, and what did you see from Chico in his first game?
Yeah, so just in general, we had, I think 28 players played 10 defense snaps or more. I think Jordan Huff came at the end and got 2 snaps. We had 29 guys on the field. There were 6 inside guys, 5 outside guys, talking about defensive tackles or defensive ends. So we got a lot of reps on film. Chico Bennett was one of those true freshmen, one of the handful of freshmen that played as well. Created negative plays. He got a TFL, he made a mistake, and then came back and created a TFL and tackled really tough humans that were difficult to tackle. You can't replace that experience. You can practice a million reps and you can try to put them in game environments, but when a true freshman, especially on that stage, finally gets real game reps, it's invaluable. And then now he's able to go see that, observe that, and for all of us, how do we get better? How do we constructively criticize ourselves as coaches, as players, and now he's able to see that. And then even coming into this week, you can see him on a heavy loaded Tuesday playing faster with more confidence now that he's got real reps.
I guess going off of that too, you talk about having a ton of freshmen out there getting significant reps.
Sure.
When it comes to game planning and when it comes, I guess, also to looking at the redshirt rule and thinking about that and having that in the back of your mind, what is kind of that thought process like for you with game planning specifically for this freshman group that honestly kind of seem like they're a key part of this defense?
Sure. So on offense, it's much easier to just feature defensive players. There are times that we try to do that, specifically on third down. But I've got to call plays to allow us to play fast and then find scheme to be able to take away their best offensive plays. So to your point, we have to be complex but not complicated to our kids defensively. So at the end of the day, we talk about it ad nauseum, but we're an effort-based defense. So the guys have got to be able to go out and execute and play fast. I think the other statistic, this is not a crutch to tell you these things, but we had 3 seniors that played defensive snaps. So not only freshmen, but it's just where we are in the state of the roster and the program. So every single developmental rep is critical for us. The way that we're waving guys in and out, that's college football today. You have to, with the amount of snaps that you're defending. And then South Florida will go fast as well. It'll be a very hot environment. We're expecting a hot environment in the middle of the day game. So we've got to get as many guys ready as possible, to your point.
Would you expect Miles to play on Saturday?
Sure.
Yeah.
And he did. He did in the second half. He got some snaps, some real-life snaps. Had a one-on-one where he was aggressive on it, and the referee let him get away with it. So he won his one-on-one battle. He looks different out there. He's got a long way to go. He's a redshirt freshman. That was his first time ever playing in a college football game, and he held up. Certainly, he didn't get the news until we were at the team hotel the day before the game. So as much as you can tell a young man to prepare like you're going to play, prepare like you're going to play, prepare like you're going to play, he had gotten the news that he was ruled ineligible to play this season. And then we get it the day before the game. So I think inevitably you see a different sense of urgency, a different level of preparation as he moves forward. There's no more There's no more crutch. There's no more anything in the back of his head. He can just prepare to be ready to play. So, yes, every single week we don't have those conversations until we get through a Thursday practice about how many reps he's earned, but he is 1,000% in the mix and getting above the line reps, and again, no longer has the worry or the back of the mind or the hurdle to get over that he's having to worry about any eligibility issues. So very pleased to have that type of body type in our rotation now.
It seemed like Jalen Askew was a guy who played well off the bench for you guys. Did you see enough from him to kind of get more snaps, and what did you like?
Sure. Jalen, opposite of a bunch of our guys, he's got a bunch of reps. So it wasn't a surprise when he got into the game in that atmosphere. Again, as much as you prepare for those moments, he's played in a bunch of Power 5 ACC games. So he had just the experience to go in there and play composed. He didn't get tested. There was nothing where he had to go up against 5 or 8 or any type of jump balls. So, he didn't get exposed one way or the other, but he was solid. And he also, when you start to accumulate all the things that he did on kickoff, all the things that he did on the punt as the punt gunner, you're talking about upwards of 25 or 30 snaps for Jalen to add to our rotation. So, as we all know, we say that to his face, he doesn't have the ideal size. He's short for any corner at any level, but he is feisty, he is competitive, and he gives us a bunch of real experience and some maturity at that position.
You talk about maturity, and Jaquan Henderson was kind of a guy who showed some really solid flashes on Thursday. What do you still need to see from him, and what do you like about what he does?
He's one of those guys that just need reps. He plays hard. Man, he plays hard. When you talk about how we identify ourselves, it's just effort-based. He embodies that. He trained the behavior of practicing really, 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 really hard throughout the preseason. He got in the game, and he went back to the default of playing really hard. So very proud of him. I can't speak highly enough when we talk about effort guys and three-stripe guys and culture guys. He's one of those that embodies those. Now, he came in as a linebacker, and then he is a undersized defensive end, or rush is what we actually have him at. So we drop him in the flats. We use him in the pass rush. He has to stunt and be inside and run fits as well. He held up just because he plays with technique. He plays fast. And, again, I apologize for saying the same thing, but every rep that he gets, he improves and he gets better because he has a great attitude. He's incredibly coachable, and he plays really, really hard. So very pleased with him and where he's going.
Collins, after the game, said this a few times that, we've got to figure out the things that our guys do well. And I'm curious, having watched that game against Clemson, what kind of things do you know now that, here's how we can use our guys better, or here's some things that, player X does well? Sure.
I'm not being sarcastic at all. I think that's the last time we'll face the number 1 overall pick of the NFL draft, in my opinion, in Trevor Lawrence. Obviously I'm not pleased with the statistics of not stopping the run. Part of that was structurally and schematically. We did affect the quarterback and his passing completion percentage, and we created 2 interceptions against an elite quarterback. So part of that was scheme and playing a little more safe, a little more depth with corners, a little more coverage with the corners. When we had one-on-one situations, with the exception of one shot where he was in phase and the receiver made an unbelievable play, we held up on the perimeter. And then that's been our personality in the past. Coach has talked about it. You guys have asked a lot of questions about the corners being long press corners and being up in the face and not allowing free access for receivers. I was really pleased at how he held up. I mean, obviously Trey probably got the most shine and the most notoriety with the interception and the pass breakup, but we really held up on the perimeter, which allows us to do more structurally and schematically going forward. We mentioned it earlier. Again, we've got to be complex, not complicated, because we're playing so many human beings in and out of the rotation. But there's things that we did well. Obviously, we've got to stop the run, and we've got to be more aggressive in the interior. And that's what South Florida does best. So that's what we will take away this week to start.
A couple more for Coach Thacker.
South Florida's probably one of their best offensive weapons, Johnny Ford, he can run on the jet sweep, he can line up a running back, receiver, slot, whatever. And then Jordan Cronkite in the running game, too. They have some good weapons and a tight end that they use a lot, which was something you didn't see against Clemson.
Sure.
So how does that kind of change the defensive preparation?
Yeah. Again, I almost feel like I'm sarcastic at sometimes, and I'm not being that. Last week we were in a situation where you couldn't take away one thing. Yeah, they were good at every level, at quarterback, at running back, at wide receiver. They were good at every position, and you can't take it all away with 11 defenders. I think number 20 is their most dynamic playmaker. Jordan Cronkite, the running back, is coming off a 1,000-yard receiver, highly rated kid, Florida transfer. In my opinion, those are their best two offensive weapons and best two players. So we will create game plans and schematics to make sure we're alert for where they are position-wise, pre-snap, every single play. And then you mentioned it, Johnny Ford did not play this last week. Obviously, he was the return specialist this past season, but he is elusive as anyone will see this season. So expect them to use him in different ways, whether it's running back, whether it's at wide receiver, and whether it's him running jet motions and getting the ball on the perimeter. We do not know why he did not play. Obviously, that was not undisclosed relative to their program. But I expect them, right, any offense is trying to get the best playmakers, ball in their hands, so I expect that to happen. He is listed as a slot, which last year he was listed as a running back, so that tells you a little something as to how they may or may not use them. And then, yes, by game plan, we'll find ways to take him away by scheme first.
Anything else?
Can you talk a little bit about the linebacker play and kind of what you saw and what you need to work on there? It seemed like it was a little up and down.
Sure. We've got to improve at every single level. What I saw is guys playing hard, not quitting. We did not find egregious loafs on film, which is the thing that we asked for from our group. But we saw guys getting real experience. We saw Demetrius Knight, a true freshman, playing. Saw Charlie Thomas play his first reps at linebacker. And we certainly had mistakes. I talk about egregious loafs. It was tough to find egregious missed tackles, too. There were things where they had a good scheme. They ran through some tackles. Obviously, they created explosives. Explosives was the name of the game. But when you look at it big picture for us, obviously we're trying to accentuate positives versus an opponent like that. We went through the statistics. There's 62 plays where they're averaging 2.9 yards a play. Now, obviously, the other story from their side is they create explosives. They create explosives better than anybody else in the country. A sprint draw for a 90-yard run does no one any favors on statistics. It's something that we're definitely not proud of. It was a leverage issue. It was a teachable and coachable thing for us. And then again, coming into it, it was don't make us coach your effort. If we don't have to coach your effort, then we can coach everything else in terms of your technique, in terms of the scheme, in terms of leverage, and in terms of how we can get better. And we were able to do that. Like anybody, it wasn't a condescending cuss-out session of those mistakes, which are, again, not what we're built on, those explosive plays, but it was a way for us to come in and be honest with each other about where we're at as a program, where we're at as a defense, where we're at as a linebacker unit, and then how we can improve those things. And then going forward, again, I don't know if there will be an opponent that good at that many levels that we'll face this season. So how can we improve and get better as we go forward in our schedule?
Okay, last one.
With the pass rush, and I think this may follow the theme of what you're saying about Clemson being so good, but I'm curious just what you saw, what you guys were doing in trying to get to the quarterback, and obviously he's so good at getting rid of the ball.
Sure.
But did you see were you encouraged by what you saw, even if it wasn't necessarily resulting in pressures or sacks or what have you?
Sure, and then I don't say it wasn't that we didn't attack, it wasn't that we weren't aggressive, but there weren't moments as a play caller that I could load the box up and bring 6 and 7 and 8 human beings because he would catch the ball and throw it really far to All-American 6'5" receivers. I say that a little bit in jest. So again, when you talk about that, a lot of it we were trying to manufacture with 4-man pass stunts, and they were having 5, 6, and 7-man protections that aren't conducive to sacks. So we did not create a sack, which is something that we have to improve upon. We affected him in ways of coverage, multiplicity, and pre-snap coverage disguise, and obviously getting the interception off of it, and some other things. But we've got to, again, when we talk about our goals, number 4 is affecting the quarterback. It is doing that by disguise with multiplicity of defense and then just collective body blows. We didn't get many body blows. The other thing, once we flushed him out of the pocket, as well as he throws it, I was even impressed with how well Trevor Lawrence ran to get out of the pocket and his escapability to extend plays, even in times where by scheme we were creating sacks and we were getting him off of his spot and not letting him feel comfortable. He was still able to get out, and we weren't creating negative plays when he did that. So Again, Wisconsin had a lot of success creating sacks this week. We'll take a lot from them and add to what we do and fit it into our scheme and try to go attack the quarterback this week and affect him coming off of a